And it wasn't until I was in my very early 20s, I was in California and I went to Farm Sanctuary with one of my friends. And that's where I learned all about, they're not just making milk, like they have to be impregnated to make milk. Their babies are then taken away from them and we're drinking the milk. And in my head, I'm like, wait a second, what? Like, I don't need to do that. What's more important is how something tastes or like what they're doing to these animals. And of course, like the animals are going to win. So from that moment forward, I became vegan right away. And I never turned back and I never will. I am so passionate about veganism. Once you realize and you really realize what's happening, it's like, how can you turn?
You can't unknow. You can't
unknow. Yes, it's so true.
Welcome to Plant the Change. I'm Michelle Fosnot, founder of Solid Rock, Florida, an innovative nonprofit that includes Solid Rock Community School, providing K-12 education, and the Sanctuary at Solid Rock, offering lifelong care for animals in need. We're a forward-thinking, eco-advanced organization dedicated to compassionate, humane education. Hello, friends. Welcome to Plant the Change. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with someone whose life and career are full of inspiring accomplishments across tons of fields. Cher Hubsher, a former nurse, actress, life coach, and reality TV personality, is widely recognized for her incredibly close bond with her mother, Dawn, as seen on TLC's popular series, Smothered. Cher's journey, however, extends beyond the screen, from her days as a cheerleader for the Tampa Bay Lightning to her entrepreneurial work as a life coach in New York City. Cher's path has been filled with diverse experiences. Along the way, she embraced a vegan lifestyle, which she now incorporates into her life as a mom and wellness advocate. Today, she joins us to share her journey into veganism, her insights on family, and the life lessons she's gained along the way. Welcome, Cher Hubsher, to Plant the Change.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
So thank you for joining us today. And so let's get started, and we're going to go back a bit. So you've had a really dynamic journey. Can you share with us some of the highlights of your life and career?
Well, I was 16 years old. I started out on a reality show on MTV called My Super Sweet 16, and it was a really amazing experience. But after that, I had the opportunity to go on another show called Exiled, where I was actually sent away to live with a tribe in the middle of Panama, which was really amazing. And I had to live there for a whole week and live as they do. They didn't speak any English, and we had to be able to communicate. And it was really a life-changing journey. And then more recently, I was on another TV show on TLC for 4 seasons called Smothered with my mom. I have always had such a love for animals, and I feel like that's my true calling. My true passion is to inspire others when it comes to taking care of animals and loving animals. I think so many people always say, I love animals, but then they will eat animals. So I feel like my mission on this earth really is to be able to be an advocate for animals and show what love truly is. When I was a little girl, when I was like 12 years old is when I first became vegetarian, and I was the only one in my whole family. My parents, my whole family, everybody ate meat. They're like, that's what you do. But I had pet goats and I had pet chickens, and they were like my pets, and I loved them. And the same way you wouldn't eat a dog, I couldn't eat my chicken. And I remember my mom had made chicken for dinner, and I remember looking outside, and I was like, wait a second, what? Like
You connected.
I made that connection. Like, how can I be eating chicken if I love chicken? And then I made that connection. And so ever since I started vegetarian, now vegan, and I feel like now I work as doing social media, and it's so much fun.
That's awesome. So now you've worked as a nurse, a cheerleader,
Yes.
an actress, and a life coach. How did all of these different roles shape your view on health and wellness? And what eventually led you to pursue a life coaching career?
That is a great question. I feel like you do never have to decide 100% like what you want to do. As you get older, as you grow, we evolve, and we change. And so when I went to college, my parents always said, you need to have a steady job, a steady income. And so I was like, okay. So I went and became a nurse, but I always loved dancing, and I went on to become a professional cheerleader on the side because professional cheerleaders, unfortunately, don't make enough money to make that their full-time career. But I worked for the National Hockey League, for the Tampa Bay Lightning, cheering while I was working as a nurse. But as I was working as a nurse, I worked in the psychiatric field and in mental health. And I loved it. I learned how so much of our anxiety and depression stems from poor relationship habits. And I really wanted to help people before they ended up in the psych ward, which is where I was working. And I wanted to help them really find love and find their happiness and find their calling. And so when I moved to New York City, I became life coaching certified. And then I became, it's called NYC Wing Woman. It was a dating coach, and I would help people come out of their shell and learn it's okay to start a conversation with someone you don't know, because you'll never know unless you try, what the possibility could be. So I really loved that, and I loved being able to really make a difference in someone's life.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yes.
Hi, friends. Your support can help make the difference by liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing the Plant the Change podcast. You can also visit us at solidrockflorida.org to learn more about Solid Rock Community School and the Sanctuary at Solid Rock. Your support makes a real impact, and it helps plant the change. So one of the most admired aspects of your life is the bond you share with your mother. You're very well known for that. You even co-wrote a book that's called A Bond That Lasts Forever Together. So what was that experience like? And did you explore themes of wellness or lifestyle values at all in the book?
Well, my mom is my best friend, and we really try to, show that it's okay to be a mom, and it's also okay to be a best friend, because who can you trust more than the person who raised you? She's seen me at my worst, and she's been there cheering for me at my best. And so my mom and I wrote this book together called A Bond That Lasts Forever, like you said. And basically it's how we got so close, and hopefully to inspire others to create their own special bond and their own special relationship. And my mom and I also have a podcast called Chattermouth Podcast, because we're always talking. We're always having so much fun together. We talk about everything and anything. My mom also she's now vegetarian. And so I made her watch lots of documentaries, Forks Over Knives, and she realized how important, health really is. And
so we're going to work on moving her a little further over.
So yes, the goal is, vegan next. She's almost there. She is so close. But, she loves animals. And it's so interesting because when I was a little girl, I, became vegetarian when I was 12 and then vegan later on. But she at first was like, no, in schools, they always say you have to have meat, meat's on the top of the pyramid. It's so important. And she's like, you're not going to be healthy if you don't. And so I remember it was really tough. It was really tough between us. And I think that's what kind of caused us to drift apart a little bit. And it's so interesting how now, she's my best friend, and now she's even vegetarian, and how she realized how healthy it truly is to not actually eat animals, not eat meat.
So let's talk about your transition into veganism. So what initially inspired you to make the change? And then when that happened, was it a gradual shift or just a big instant decision?
Well, I was vegetarian when I turned 12, like I said, because I made that connection.
So that was with the chicken,
That was with the chicken. Yes. But I was always I love cheese, and it's so hard to get rid of it. In my mind, I didn't realize what was happening. I just
thought, I was going to say, at 12, did you understand? Did you even know what vegan was at 12?
You know what? No, I knew you can cut out all animal products, but I was under the impression, cows make milk, so whatever, they're not
right. Happy cows make milk,
yes. Right? And I had no idea. And it wasn't until I was in my very early 20s, I was in California, and I went to Farm Sanctuary in California.
Wonderful.
With one of my friends. He actually was the founder of National Animal Rights Day in NARD, Ilham Orion, and he took me to the Farm Sanctuary and showed me around, and that's where I learned all about, wait a second, they're not just making milk. They have to be impregnated to make milk. Their babies are then taken away from them, and we're drinking the milk. And in my head, I'm like, wait a second, what? I don't need to do that. Why in the world would I, what's more important, how something tastes or what they're doing to these animals? And of course, like the animals are going to win. So from that moment forward, I became vegan right away. And I remember going home to my husband. What? Oh, yes, right away. And and I never turned back, and I never will. I am so passionate about veganism. Once you realize, and you really realize what's happening, it's like, how can you turn?
You can't unknow. You can't
unknow. Yes, so true. And people sometimes will say, like, ignorance is bliss, but I feel like it's so important. Don't you want to know where your money is going to, what you're supporting? And so I'm so glad I know, and I'm able to not support any of that. And my husband is vegan as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes. And yes, I made him watch every documentary on the planet so he can know and then make an informed
So was
decision.
he when you met him?
He was not when I met him. And I married him and he was not vegan, but we were always vegetarian or vegan in the household. He didn't really understand everything. And he's like, I'm not going to just become vegan because you're vegan. But as soon as he watched all the documentaries and opened up his mind and realized like what was going on, he said, that's it for me.
So a lot of people do say ignorance is bliss, and in some ways it can be, right? I think we've all experienced like there's some things, oh, I just don't want to know that, right? But you can't unknow it once you do,
Right.
and you can't make good decisions in any part of life without knowing. So I'm an educator, right?
Yeah.
So I'm all about giving people education, about raising awareness, and then people are going to choose what they want to do.
Exactly.
I don't feel like anybody can really make a choice when they don't know.
It's so true. And that's why my husband was open to listening to the documentaries. But then I said, in the end, it has to be his decision. But once he found everything out and realized, not only for health, but for the health, for the animals, for the environment, there's every reason.
And what was it finally that made him shift? Was it one documentary or one moment?
It's a great. No, I think it was everything. And he's a physician, he's a doctor, so I think it's so important for him to also lead by example, right? We want to be, healthy inside and out, and for him, I think it was all three. It wasn't just one, but on every angle, it's hitting him at all angles. From the environment, from the health, for the animals.
That's awesome.
Couldn't look away.
It's all, when I hear that there's a vegan doctor, I always get so excited. A lot of the interviews I do are with doctors who are vegans. And I think, they're talking to people every day. And no matter what kind of doctor they are, they're in front of people talking to them.
Right.
And I think that that's such a great message. I think that's great. So tell him I said congratulations. So now let's talk about your mom.
Okay, let's get into it.
Your mom, Dawn, correct? So she's vegetarian, as you stated, and you guys are best friends, and you've gone vegan. So you've taken it a step further by going fully vegan. So how has she responded to your vegan lifestyle?
How has she responded? She supports me. She's very supportive. At first, I think just like when I first became vegetarian, it was tough. I remember when I first became vegetarian, I was 12, and she wanted me to eat meat because she was under that impression, like, you need to be healthy. So I remember she didn't know how to make tofu back in the day. This was 20-something years ago. And so tofu wasn't as big or known, I don't know, it wasn't as common, I guess, or tempeh. And so she didn't know how to cook. So I remember eating so many microwave vegan meals growing up. But now that she's watched all these documentaries, it's so much light. It's so much easier now. It's so much more talked about now. I think that she's, very proud of me actually for being vegan and for, following my heart and not just following society.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And hopefully she will follow you.
Yes. Now it's my turn to kind of, I got her to vegetarian, which is great.
You take the lead there.
Yes.
And so I'm assuming, because why do we have vegetarians? It's dairy, milk and cheese. So I'm assuming cheese. Is that the reason that she's still vegetarian?
I think it's just, it's very hard for her to limit. Like in the house, she doesn't really have cheese, but, eggs are in a lot of things, milk and dairy, everything. So I think it's just, she hasn't made the full change yet, but I think she will. I know she's cut it out of her house. So that's a really big step. And it's just, when she's out to live, sometimes it's still tough. But I'm hoping that, as the time goes on, vegan food becomes more and more easily accessible.
And it's so different today than it was 20 years ago. Restaurants can still be tough, but when you're cooking at home, so many more options now in the grocery store.
Yeah, it's so true.
Like 20 years ago, when you first were making changes, we didn't have Impossible Meat or Beyond Meat or any of these things that we have nowadays. It is a whole different world in the grocery store today.
It's so, so true. My daughter also is vegan, and sometimes I'm faced in social media with bullying. I get even faced where people are like, everyone says they love animals, but on social media, people will say to me, because I'm big on social media on Instagram and TikTok, and people will say like, how could you do that to her? How could you not let her have meat? And I tell her all the time, if you want to have this is up to you. The only difference is I tell her what it is. Like she knows.
You tell her the truth about where
I'm not hiding it. And I think so many people, they say, well, how could you not be giving your child meat? Like you're depriving them. And I tell her all the time, you're allowed to have meat if you want it, but this is what it is. And I think that so many kids are not being told what they're given. And I think it's like the opposite almost. Like they should know what's going in their body.
I think most people, if they know when they're young, they wouldn't eat it.
Right.
Most kids love animals.
Yeah.
They just love it. We were introduced to animals as food because of convenience and tradition.
Yeah.
That's where it comes from.
Yeah. And so true. She's a very big advocate. She'll tell her friends, like, that was a real chicken once, or, that was a real, pig. But she's so adorable. And so I tell her, if you want to try this, you can, but she never wants to. And she'll like go up at her school and say like, is this, is there meat in this? And she knows to ask what questions to ask. And I want it to come from her, so I just tell her the truth and let her decide, but she's decided.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So now, are there specific foods or practices you incorporate into your parenting? That way it's encouraging a plant-based lifestyle.
Very much. I love tofu. I think you can make it all different kinds of ways. And I think that it's so great that nowadays there's a substitute for everything. You never have to feel like your child's being deprived because they're not being deprived. In fact, I think she's so healthy and she's growing great on her scale and everything. I think she, if she wants to she sees a friend having chicken nuggets, she'll have nuggets, not chicken, but she'll have nuggets, and she can still have that.
Chickless nuggets.
Yeah, chickless nuggets. Or if we're going to a birthday party and there's pizza, like we can have vegan pizza. Like there's always substitutes. So I feel like you never have to feel like you can't eat something. And I think that's a very big misconception. And people are always asking me, well, what do you eat as a vegan? Are you just eating salad? Like, my daughter will not eat salad ever. She will not eat salad. So no, we're not eating salad. But because we didn't have the option for some of these other, meat foods growing up, she loves broccoli. She loves asparagus. She loves vegetables, and which is so healthy. And she's grown up that way, which I think is wonderful because I know so many of her friends will love the crispy nuggets, but
the deep fried foods
but they won't touch the broccoli. And now my friends are asking me like, how do you get her to eat broccoli? And I'm like, that's her favorite food,
So, here at Solid Rock Community School, we have an exclusive, 100% exclusive plant-based kitchen.
Amazing.
So all of our students here, when they're eating the food that we provide, it's 100% plant-based. So whatever they're doing at home, who knows, right? But when they're here, we provide plant-based food. And many kids here have never even had many of the foods that we provide at home before they've been here. And they generally really like the food. It's just not something they've had before, they're familiar with. But when you give it to them, it's great. And then many foods are really just so similar to what they're eating. So if we have nuggets on the menu, we have our kid-friendly foods, we have really healthy foods, and then we have what we call transition foods, which are your friendly nuggets and burgers and things like that, except they're all plant-based. And that's a great way to introduce kids to plant-based foods. So they like that. And then we have a seed-to-table garden, so the kids get to be part of that.
I love that.
Yeah, so that's really fun. So those are ways that help transition kids. And we have had so many kids say, like, there'll be okra in the garden, and they'll say, I've never had okra, or I've never had this vegetable, or I've never had eggplant. It's not something they're buying at home, but because they're growing it in the garden, they're like, they can't wait to taste it, and then all of a sudden they try new foods and they find out they like something.
So awesome. I love that. And I love the fact that they can watch something grow and be able to turn that into food. It's just a beautiful thing that you guys do here. It's so amazing.
So if you were going to give any advice to a parent who says, I want to add more plant-based foods at home, I want to do this, what advice would you give them?
I would say do it because, first of all, it's healthy for your child, right? It's healthy for them. It's healthy for you. And you're not you're not giving money to something that you know your child wouldn't want you to give. If your child loves animals, then they're not going to want to be seeing them, killed and eating them. So I think it's so much easier than you think. There is a substitute for everything. And just get creative and have fun with it because eating should be fun and should be enjoyable. And trust me, you're going to feel so much better when you do give it a shot. Because I know when we made that transition, I felt healthier. Like I don't have to worry about that. Oh, that stuffed, really full, gross feeling anymore. I don't get that anymore.
We don't get the tired after we eat. When you eat, we all remember that. And if you're eating animal products, you eat and you're exhausted after you eat. You want to take a nap. It's not like that with plant-based foods. You eat and you're now like more energetic and ready to get going.
Yeah. And if you make it cool to your child's going to follow. So I think so many children end up eating certain ways based on how their parents eat. But if you're going to start eating healthy and showing that to your child's going to want to eat healthier too. So you're setting them up for a healthier future. And that's something I think important to keep in mind too.
Yeah, and I always say to people, involve your kids in the cooking. And, if you do a garden at home, great. But not everybody's going to do a garden at home. Maybe grow a few little herbs that you can sprinkle on. But you can make a smoothie at home.
Totally.
You can cook together at home. And I think when you involve the kids, particularly younger kids, in those things as they're growing up, you're really like planting that seed of normalizing. This is the way that we cook, and these are healthy foods. And I think it makes it easier when you start younger, of course, but it's never too late to start. So we always want to make that clear. It doesn't matter how old you are.
Too late, of course. Yeah, definitely. And I have a helper stool with my daughter. So we have this like little stool so she can like get up high and help me cook. And it's so fun. And I think it makes it more fun because you're excited, like what's going to come out of the oven. Like, you put in the work and now you get to eat it. So I think it's so fun.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Tell the truth.
Okay.
Preface that. Tell the truth. Are you a good cook? Do you like to cook? Do you do elaborate recipes?
No.
Me either.
No. I cook because I have to cook, right?
Because you have to eat, right?
I have to eat. If it's just me, I wouldn't be eating like peanut butter sandwich at night or something. I wouldn't be eating very much. But when I cook for my family, I want it to be healthy. But I'm very much about like, you don't have to have a whole elaborate like meal. You can just, there's really quick and easy ways to make food. Like I'll make an Alfredo sauce, for example, and I'm not going to make it hard. I just blend cashews and I add nutritional yeast and a little garlic with some like olive oil or water and blend it up. And it makes the tastiest Alfredo sauce, over some chickpea pasta. And that's like a really healthy, easy meal. So I look for very easy meals because I don't really enjoy it, but I try to make it, quick and healthy.
So what would be Belle's favorite foods that you make? What are her favorite?
She loves the like Alfredo, pasta. She honestly loves tofu, just like plain air fried tofu with a side of vegetables and a side of quinoa, which is very healthy. She doesn't like sauces. She's very picky right now, but I cube the tofu and she just loves to be able to like snack on that. And so, she loves that type of stuff.
And that's cool.
Yeah.
That's good. So a lot of the young kids, if they haven't had that yet, well, even a lot of adults, I mean, people love tofu or they don't, right? And there's so many ways to make it.
Yeah.
Totally true. But if it wasn't tofu, what are some of her other favorite things?
Yeah.
Or like, what are some of the easy things you make at home?
I'll make some pastas or I'll make a chili, like a big bean chili with all the beans in it. So she's getting lots of protein. I'll make lots of vegetables, all like roasted vegetables, and she loves that. All different kinds. We'll make like different kinds of pastas. I can add in vegetables in the sauces. And she also like quesadillas, like bean and cheese quesadillas. And just, we'll use vegan cheese, but with some black beans in it. And with almond flour, tortillas, and she's very happy with all that. So I feel like I'm not really making anything different. Like everyone eats chili, everyone eats quesadillas, everybody, will eat mac and cheese. I just do it, I veganize it.
Right. That's great.
So, yeah.
I'm telling you, sometimes my favorite ways to eat are just to make a sweet potato. And I love to put chopped up bananas and then blueberries and some walnuts in the sweet potato with a little maple syrup.
Now that sounds delicious.
Oh my! It is so, well, if you make like a bunch of the sweet potatoes at a time, so you can have it for the whole week. They hold really well in the refrigerator. Wow. You just bake them, slice them, put in some bananas, some blueberries,
in
a sweet potato. Go home and make it. I'm telling you, it is one of my favorite things to make. And like I said, you make them and you've got them for a week. They last so well.
So you cook the blueberries in it or no?
No,
you put it in.
Yeah. So after you make
sweet potato,
cook the sweet potato. Bake it or microwave it.
Yeah.
Either way, when it's ready, you just slice it and kind of, do like that to kind of like, pump it up a little bit. Then slice, I usually use a half a banana that I slice and put in it, a handful of blueberries I put in it, some walnuts or some pecans, either way, and then a drizzle of maple syrup.
This sounds wonderful.
It's
like a dessert.
It could be breakfast, it could be dinner, it could be a dessert, it could be anything.
Oh gosh, I'm definitely gonna try that.
It is so easy though. Yeah. It's so easy. It's so easy. It's ridiculous. I'm all about easy too. Yeah. Sometimes we just make some regular potatoes and some broccoli or some string beans or things like that. That's like, I'm totally fine with that. We're like such gluttons here. We need to eat 9 things at dinner.
Me too. Yes, exactly. I'm 100% with you. And then for lunch, we'll do like an avocado toast. You can add on some like hemp seeds, put some sliced tomatoes, also on the glaze.
So delicious.
That's like so good.
Mm-hmm. That's delicious.
Yes.
So I like to keep it easy sometimes because not everybody's a great cook. And not everybody wants to cook. I actually can cook. I just don't want to.
Right.
I don't want to.
There's a lot of other things that I do.
It's like, I had a period of my life where I did like to cook.
Yeah.
So, but you'd have different times in your life where you're into things and not. Yeah. I've done the cooking. Now I'm like, I want to eat. I don't want to cook. It's so much work and so much cleaning up, and it's just a lot of thought that has to go into it. I'm like, I keep it simple. Yeah. I go home and we make, vegetable soup. There's a cabbage soup that I make that's delicious, and that will last for several days at a time. I just like to keep it easy.
Yes, me too.
And I think when you're trying to talk to someone who hasn't really eaten this way before, sometimes it's just easier to do it that way.
Yeah.
They get very overwhelmed sometimes with all the recipes and and all that kind of thing.
Yeah,
so just keep it simple and they can expand from there.
Definitely, I agree.
Yeah. So now we know that your mom has some great wellness tips, like staying hydrated and protecting skin from the sun. So do you have any wellness tips?
Yes, I've learned so much from my mom. My mom's amazing. She's 64 and she's so beautiful and and proud, and she's wonderful. I learned so much from her. But I think the most for wellness, as in skincare, do you mean?
And tell me all of it.
Yeah,
everybody wants to know everything. Tell us all.
I think the most important.
I mean, you look like you're 12.
Oh, thank you.
We want to hear it all.
Thank you. No, I mean, I try to stay out of the sun as much as possible and moisturize and sleep. But I think the most important thing, honestly, for me is just being happy and like living the life that you want to live. And I think when you're happy in your life, you're going to show happiness with your face and your attitude and all of that. So I think, I was living in New York for a long time, and I was so excited to finally move back here. And my whole goal in my life has always been to have like a farm or have animals and rescue animals. And so that's what I'm trying to do right now. And it brings me so much joy and happiness. And I think being able to be where you want to be, you're just going to like radiate that on the outward because you're feeling so good on the inside.
I want to thank everybody for watching and listening to Cher. She's adorable, amazing, bubbly. Love her so much. So thank you all for joining us on Plant the Change. And remember, even small steps can make a big difference in living a healthier, more compassionate life. The Plant the Change podcast explores how education drives societal transformation, nurturing compassionate and responsible citizens, and plants the seeds of change for a better tomorrow. At Solid Rock, Florida, we're a nonprofit committed to compassionate, humane education. an approach that blends academic excellence, ethical responsibility, and emotional growth. We're doing something unique, and we need your support to expand our impact and strengthen our efforts to create lasting change. Visit solidrockflorida.org and click the donate button at the top of the page to see our current initiatives. You choose where your contribution goes, and every tax-deductible donation, no matter the amount, is greatly appreciated. Show your support and stay updated on future episodes and initiatives by following Plant the Change on YouTube and Solid Rock on Facebook and Instagram, at Solid Rock Community School and at Sanctuary at Solid Rock. Together, we can redefine the future of education and create a world that's guided by compassion and ethical responsibility. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep making a difference.